the Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network presents Worldview Media Podcast, where Gordon and Joyce Runyon view popular media through the lens of the biblical five-point covenant model to help believers appreciate and apply principles of exciting narrative and engaging storytelling.
Hello, this is the Worldview Media Podcast. We are broadcasting live from Stellar Cartography.
Where?
Of the Starship Enterprise. Oh, I can't do this. This is the Worldview Media Podcast.
And you are a crazy man.
They call me the big shooter.
Oh, those people.
And here with me is Miss Joyce.
Hey.
Hey. Sup? We are here on Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network, your one-stop shop for all your dominionizing needs, and we are here to discuss Star Trek VII.
Otherwise known as Generations. Generations. It's the bridge between.
It is. It's a connective tissue.
That's right.
And so, in this episode, in this movie episode,
episodic movie,
it begins with old guys from the original series.
From the Trek.
Yeah, and I get the feeling, do I remember hearing something like they tried to get Spock and McCoy, but neither one of them wanted to do it?
I think that's correct.
Because they felt like, you're squeezing us out, man.
Squeezing what out?
The old series, the original series.
Oh, that it was just a little too gratuitous.
Oh, I don't know.
They had gone past their time. The shelf life was over.
Yeah, right. It's like their way of saying, you guys are old, and we're going with a new crop of characters. Mm. And so it begins with retired Captain Kirk. Is he an admiral, or is he a captain?
He's always the captain.
All right, so retired Captain Kirk, he's doing like a press tour on board a brand new Enterprise 1701B. Mm-hmm. There will be many more of those. That's right. We'll get down to like triple F and stuff like that. And so here we have, what are we talking about now? All right, so...
Have you been drinking?
Not yet. I have my drink right here. I should probably take time out for a sip.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Well, anyway.
So, the Enterprise B is launching out of space dock.
Mm-hmm. Maiden voyage. Going out. Checking things around.
And I found it really depressing that here in, the 23rd century, the press is still basically the press. They're basically like paparazzi and stuff following the scene. And anyway, as they go out on this, what would you even call it, an exhibition cruise with the press, that they get a distress signal and...
Something serious.
Yeah, they have to go try to rescue these two ships that have been trapped in an energy ribbon. Mm-hmm. Heroics from Captain Kirk caused them to be able to save 100 and something, or 42.
42, yeah, out of 150.
Yeah, one ship was
gone.
completely destroyed. But Captain Kirk saves the day, and they rescue 42. But in the process, Captain Kirk
is no more.
He is killed. And
He's
then,
missing in action.
right, then you fast forward like 80 years to the time of Star Trek The Next Generation. And the Next Generation crew runs up against this guy, Dr. Soren. Dr. Soren. Who's Sauron? He's the Lord of the Rings bad
Yes. That's Saruman.
guy. No, that's the wizard. Saruman is the bad one. Sauron is the big bad one.
He's the one ring.
Yeah.
He's the one dude to rule them all.
Right. And so Dr. Soren is up to no good in spite of initial appearances. And it turns out that he has a plot. He's figured out how to destroy entire stars at one time, and he's working with the Klingons to use this as
The bad
a
sisters.
weapon. Right from the house of Duras. The disgraced house of Duras.
Never can get it right, that house.
And so the Enterprise crew figures out that what's going on is Dr. Soren, what was his name? Soren. They figure out,
Doctor. Let's just call him the Doctor.
right, they figure out that he was on the ship that
Was
rescued, but
was
he
rescued
didn't
from
want
that
to be
ship,
rescued. Because apparently this energy ribbon is a doorway to
Another dimension.
that they call the Nexus.
Yeah.
And apparently it's a really happy place.
Okay.
Guinan describes
The
it
bartender.
as being
Just wrapped up
wrapped
in
up in
happiness.
joy or
Yeah.
something. And she didn't really want to leave. She was on that ship as well, and
She tried really
had
hard to
been
forget
in the
that
Nexus.
place.
And so what they've decided is, what they figure out, oh, by the way, Data has emotions now. He's put
Just
in,
because he put a chip in his
he
head.
put an emotion chip in, and he's having issues
Yeah.
dealing with emotions. Okay, so
There's lots of things going on in this.
yeah, I'm
little
giving a
cinematic
very
adventure.
broad overview. So they figure out that what Soren is trying to do is he's eliminating stars that will change the gravity and cause the energy ribbon that is moving through the galaxy. He can kind of steer it to where he wants it to go by
Because of the gravitational
eliminating a
shifts.
star here and there. And where he wants it to go, he decides is to this one planet where he'll be waiting for it, and he's hoping then it will take him back into the Nexus. The thing is, the star that he needs to destroy the last is
Viridian. The Viridian system.
in the Viridian system, and there's an inhabited planet there.
With like millions
Pre-industrial,
of people.
they've got 250 million people or something.
Yeah.
And so if he destroys the star, they're all dead. And
Which, no big deal, right?
right. Small price to pay to get into the Nexus.
Yeah, for joy, unlimited joy and happiness. Come on.
Right.
How's that not worth it?
And so it winds up Captain Picard gets down on the planet with Dr. Soren, and they're fighting, and he's trying to stop him. And while he's fighting and trying to stop him, the bad Klingon ladies show up, and they've figured out a way to
the Enterprise.
get past the Enterprise shields, and they wind up pretty much destroying the Enterprise, so that they have to do a saucer section,
Immediate saucer,
separation, and then once they separate and the warp core explodes, the saucer is damaged, and now it's being sucked into the gravity of the one planet that they're on.
Well, I don't know why they just left it impulse. I mean, is that really how you need to leave when you know that your drive is going critical and going to explode, and you're just like coasting on?
That's impulse is all they have on the saucer, though.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
You can't go warp speed if you just separate it from your warp engines. That's what the nacelles are.
They can only go impulse.
Right.
Well, how is that even smart?
Well, full impulse is light speed, though. So it seems like they should have gone faster than they did. But. So they didn't take the opportunity to leave, and they wind up crash landing. And Dr. Soren is successful in his
Gets it launched. Of course,
quest.
Picard doesn't know all this stuff's going on.
He doesn't know his ship has
He has
been
no
destroyed.
clue. Yeah.
And so the guy, Soren, launches his weapon into the star, and it destroys the star.
The ribbon comes down.
And the ribbon comes just as he thought it would.
And glory fills his soul.
The ribbon came down, and glory filled my soul.
I'm sorry. Always got a song.
That works. So there was much rejoicing then. So the ribbon takes both him and Captain Kirk, or Captain Picard. It's already got Captain Kirk.
It's already, well, we don't know.
We don't know that.
He was just gone.
Well, time is meaningless in the ribbon, so that
Yeah.
wasn't really a spoiler. That I.
But we don't know if he was in the ribbon.
Right, I'm telling you, he was.
All right then. Thanks.
Okay, and then now what happens? Captain Kirk wakes up and he's in the Nexus. I mean, Captain Picard wakes up and he's in the Nexus. Mm-hmm. And in the Nexus world, he's got a family that he never actually had. He's got a wife and kids, and they're celebrating Christmas in a traditional
English fashion. With figgy pudding and...
Right. With Earl Grey.
Yes, a cup of Earl Grey.
Anyway, Picard decides at some point that, oh wait, this isn't real, this is just the Nexus, and in reality, I have to find a way to get back there or do something.
Well, he kind of gets a heads up about this when he goes into the Nexus, because he gets warned by Guinan, if you go, you won't want to come back, you won't want to be anywhere else, you won't want to remember anything. And time has no meaning there, so you can go back and see when your kids were born, you can go forward and see their kids, you can just do anything you want to in this Nexus. So, he goes in...
He decides he wants to go back, but he can't just go back to before everything blew up, because he wasn't enough to stop Dr. Soren. So he decides he needs help. And turns out Captain Kirk, from Kirk's perspective, just got into the Nexus himself. Mm-hmm. And so Captain Picard goes to find Captain Kirk.
Well, now, again, Guinan shows up in the Nexus and says, hey,
it's
what are
an
you
echo
doing?
of the Guinan.
That's what
he
she
knows.
says. Because
Right.
he's like, you come back and help me. Well, I can't do anything. I'm not even really here. I'm just a
it's
figment
just
of your
kinda weird.
imagination.
Right.
Yeah. So, but there is somebody I know, and how does she know this? I don't know. It was just kind of, because she wasn't in the Nexus when
Right.
Picard, when Kirk was, that's just kind of like,
That was a
interesting.
storytelling snafu, I
yeah.
thought there. Anyway, so the two captains meet, and eventually Picard is able to talk Captain Kirk into going back with them and stopping Soren. So they go back to the planet at a space and time before Soren actually met Picard on the planet the first time. Mm-hmm. And so now there's two captains instead of one, and eventually they're able to overcome Soren and stop the...
Foil the plot.
Right, saving 250 million people. And,
Over 1 billion souls.
And then that means that the Enterprise hasn't actually been completely destroyed. All the people are still alive and stuff.
We
who
don't
crash
know that
landed.
for sure if they're all alive, but it's better than it was, because the planet actually exploded with everybody on it, and for sure everyone would have been dead.
That's everybody dead. And so maybe some did die in the crash. They didn't
give us a
that.
list of,
But now, everything's good, and the torch has officially been passed. Captain Kirk
said it was fun.
Yeah, he said it was fun, and passes on to the alternate side.
The alternate side? What? Who's passing what to where? Wait, say that again.
Captain Kirk dies.
I wasn't sure if he was passing something over to Picard. Picard passed something over this way.
No, he's gone. Captain Kirk is gone.
He's gone. Okay.
And so that's the end of the movie. Everything's cool. And we've made the cinematic shift from one generation to the other.
Hence, generations.
Right. So what were your thoughts on this movie overall?
Overall, I liked it. But there were some plot issues. I think there was... it was kind of nice to see some of the original cast members up and doing stuff. And Kirk was very much Kirk and, wanting to be the captain still and... wanting to get up and wanting to tell him what to do.
Right. So when they go on that first rescue mission, don't you think they belabored that? I felt like they hit that note several times and made sure you saw how much he wanted to be sitting in the captain's chair. Mm-hmm. I just didn't feel like that was needful.
And it made him kind of seem a little immature. Even if he had wanted to do that, I don't think he would have been like, I can't sit down. Let me tell you what you need to do,
Right, yeah. Yeah, I thought they hit that on the nose a little too much. It's like the cinematic version of a laugh track. The laugh track tells you when you're supposed to be laughing.
This is funny, in case you don't catch it.
And this one kind of belabored the point. Ooh, see, Kirk wishes he could be the captain. Ooh, look again. Kirk still wishes. Oh, and again. Mm-hmm. And it was just a little on the nose for me.
Yeah.
There was another storytelling issue I had with it, because if you're going to create this alternate universe, the Star Trek universe, fine. Make up all your technology and set the rules for how the technology works, that's fine. But then you have to stick within those rules or it becomes irritating. And what was irritating to me is I don't think Star Trek always does a great job of playing within the rules of their own system of warp drive. Mm-hmm. This gets a little mathematical.
Yeah.
But warp drive is supposed to go analogically, which means that warp 1 is the speed of light, and warp 2 is not twice the speed of light, it's 10 times the speed of light. So warp 3 is 100 times, and warp 4 is 1,000 times the speed of light. So by the time
you rip a hole.
Yeah, and by the time you get to warp 9, it's outrageous how fast you're going. So I actually did the calculations in my head.
Oh, great.
And so
were you drinking?
I don't know when I did them. I might have been in the shower and thinking, wait a second, the math isn't right. That when they initially got the distress call from the two ships, it said they were 3 light years away. Mm-hmm. And then they take off at maximum warp. Mm-hmm. And it's, there are a bunch of tense moments. Everybody's walking around waiting to get there, and what will we do when we get there and stuff. Mm-hmm. But assuming warp 9 is maximum warp, they should have been there in like a fraction of a second.
Instantaneously.
Fraction of a second.
Well,
been like teleporting.
But as they're going to this event, they're realizing they have no medical staff. They have no torpedoes. They don't.
No tractor beam.
They're not even fully outfitted. So are they really going? What is their maximum warp?
You're saying...
Did they put an engine in this thing? It's just, it blows my mind. We're doing this little voyage, this little cruise, and there's nobody on the ship. They're not at full complement. They're not fully equipped. They're just, and why?
Oh, so you're thinking when he said maximum warp, he just meant as fast as we can go?
Well, it's possible, because they say, okay, what you need to do is put a tractor beam on it. Oh, I don't have a tractor beam.
You're right. Well, see, the other place...
we don't have torpedoes. Oh.
The other place where this messed up is that when they're learning about the ribbon and what it is, doesn't Data say the ribbon goes through the galaxy every 39 years or something like that, every 32?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so
like a comet.
right, it's like a comet. It's on this apparently circular course, and it moves through the galaxy every 32 years. But that can't be right, because the galaxy is a gigantic place, right? And even going warp 9, you're going to take 1,000 years to go across the galaxy.
Like in a region. Maybe it's a region.
I thought they said it moves through the galaxy every 39 years.
I mean, when they say the galaxy, do they mean like, like my neighborhood?
It moves through my neighborhood every 39 years.
I mean, how big is your neighborhood? Is it just the block that you live on?
Okay, so if the galaxy is if the galaxy is like this pinwheel shape, I guess I heard it like they're saying it traverses the diameter of the pinwheel, but that would probably not be right.
Yeah, that would.
You're saying it probably enters from like perpendicular to the pinwheel and moves through and then circles around and comes back.
It's space. Who can know?
Right.
But maybe there's more than one ribbon. And what took Soren so long if it goes every 39? I mean, why did he take as much time?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions. Why didn't he just fly into the ribbon?
Yeah.
Why didn't he...
Well, they said because ships can get destroyed trying to get close. But it seems to me, at some point you're close enough the ribbon just picks you up. I mean, you don't have to physically touch the ribbon in order to get into the Nexus, do you? I
don't think so.
All right. Well, some of that just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
So, a little flawed, perhaps.
If your ship is flying to the ribbon and it destroys your ship as soon as you get real close to it, is that not close enough to get in? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the little tentacle pieces that are coming off the ribbon that's what does the phasing to take you out. I don't know.
All right, but it just seemed to me when the ships are in distress, they're at the first. Scotty's trying to boom them out, and he's saying these people are phasing in and out of our space-time continuum or whatever. Yeah. So they would have been phasing in and out on the other ship too, right? The one that got destroyed.
Well, yeah, but you don't know if they were in what part of phase were they when it was destroyed,
Right. Okay.
And then that's another interesting thing, that it would phase organic matter, but not inorganic matter.
Oh yeah.
Why doesn't the whole ship go?
Yeah.
Why is it just? I don't know. See, there's some trouble.
Well, the Nexus does seem to be designed, doesn't it? It seems designed to provide what every inhabitant wants. So that's kind of weird. Do you have any other storytelling issues? I just felt like I really thought everything with Captain Kirk was dumb.
Yeah, it didn't do much for his character.
I didn't think so. And then
but
seriously,
yet it was still very Kirk. I mean...
Yeah, but you're going to have Captain Kirk have his last words be, "It was fun"?
No, it was, "Oh my." Those were his last words.
Yeah. He did say, "Oh my." Right. What was that? He saw death coming for him? Or?
I don't know. And I thought, at the very end, when you see Picard in a pile of rocks, I mean, really? You're not going to tell anybody that Kirk came back and he helped you, and you're just going to leave him under a pile of rocks with his little
I hadn't thought about that.
on top of it? I'm like, come on,
because the Federation shows up pretty soon.
I mean, they're coming to rescue them and do a cleanup mission.
They could have taken Kirk's body.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? Are you serious?
Hey, Captain's prerogative. He can either take the body or just bury him under some rocks.
And it wasn't even a big pile of rocks, which made me suspicious. I don't even know if I would fit under that pile of rocks. And it wasn't sealed.
Well, he had a lot of broken bones and stuff.
I don't know.
He was just kind of folded.
Maybe.
Underneath the rocks. All right.
And it wasn't even like oozing guck coming out from under the rocks. I just didn't think it was right.
That's gross.
It wasn't right, I tell you. The captain deserved better.
All right. Probably so. We should stop and take our break. We'll be right back.
Are you interested in Christian education? Would you like to learn how to be a Christian teacher or how to run your very own Christian school with success? The GCS Apprenticeship Program can help. Learn more on our website at gcsapprenticeship.com.
The Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network brings to you a complete lineup of podcasts where you will hear practical and tactical theology. Our desire is not simply that you consume our shows, but that you also live out your faith in every area of life. We can talk all day long about these things, but if we fail to put them into practice, then we fail as ambassadors of Jesus Christ our King. Subscribe now to your favorite Reconstructionist Radio Podcast Network shows, or you can subscribe to the Reconstructionist Radio Master Feed, where all of the content we produce, including the audiobooks and audio articles, will pop up as soon as they are available. And don't forget to visit ReconstructionistRadio.com to volunteer as a narrator or to partner with this ministry financially. May the Holy Spirit stir you into action for Christ and His kingdom.
And we're back, Worldview Media Podcast, talking about Star Trek Generations, and we want to talk about what the movie preaches and how it preaches it. Mm-hmm. What kind of themes did you spot? Some are fairly obvious, I think. But
oh, really?
Go ahead. Go
well,
ahead.
I
I'll
think
tell
you
you.
missed, you missed one that I think is important in the story, is with Jean-Luc and the loss of his brother and nephew, and just how he looks at life and what that means. I think there's stuff with leaving a legacy, and you can definitely tell with his worldview that he really doesn't think it's very finite. You have this moment, and there's nothing before it, and there's nothing after it, and then that's it. You're just no more, and there's, so I thought that was really kind of sad.
Yeah.
And of course, since now there is no Picard to carry on the family name, that's really kind of a big downer for him.
Right.
But yet, with his mind frame saying, all I have is right now anyway, and how do you leave a legacy if it's just a little snippet of tape and that's it, and then it gets thrown in the trash when you're done. So I didn't understand why he was so broken up about it when that's what he thought. It didn't seem to mesh.
Yeah. That you're saying his worldview can't really account for things like family and history having any real meaning.
Mm-hmm. Well, just he was worried about a legacy and didn't really think about a family because, somebody else has already taken care of that. But, suddenly that's not taken care of. And so just the idea of legacy and duty and family and what are these things and how do they really work with his worldview?
Yeah.
Because there is nothing lasting with his worldview.
No, that's right.
So how can you have any of those things?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you saw both him and Kirk expressing regret about never really taking the time to have a family. Mm-hmm. Was that just to show them as kind of they're very similar people, or they have the same kinds of regrets? We're trying to pass the buck from one to the other here. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe just showing a parallel there.
Maybe.
And then when they're both in the Nexus, it puts them both in situations where now they have that family, or they have the opportunity to choose to pick family over career and stuff. So that was kind of
well, does similar. Picard say that he would like to have had a family? Does he say that?
It was clear that he regretted not having one.
Because, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the TV series and all of his interactions with the children.
Yeah, he's extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like he wants to be there or interact with them, or
He
you
hates
know.
kids.
Well, I don't know if he hates them, but he's really uncomfortable. You know, you can just tell that that's not him. And so for him to suddenly be surrounded by kids, and it's not like one or two. I mean, there were like 5 to
He
7
had
kids
like
there.
5 or kids.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of kids. And then, of course, his nephew was there too. And so, it just, that seemed a little bit of a disconnect to me. And if that's really what he wanted, you know, he was looking at some Christmas tree ornament and the light flashing reminded him of
An explosion
the Enterprise. I don't know.
or the sun going out or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said, wait, this isn't real.
Well, now that I'm going to sound like a bit of a broken record here, because the worldview issue that I saw watching this as a presuppositionalist, the reason Picard doesn't want to stay in the Nexus is because he decides it's not real. Both him and Kirk decide that it's not real. It's not reality.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both really there experiencing that.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, it is reality.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my issue. And this is where I harp on this a lot ever since I read about it. But Neil deGrasse Tyson, who all the atheists think is the smartest man in the world, not long ago hosted a symposium of theoretical physicists and other smart types.
Supposedly.
Yeah, really smart guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole symposium was a debate on the question, is it possible that what we consider to be our reality is really just a very advanced computer simulation?
Mm-hmm.
Which, for us listening to that, that's a ridiculous thing, you know. But apparently most of the panelists there
Sign on.
said, yeah, I think that's likely. And they had reasons for thinking that. One of their reasons for thinking it, by the way, was that they just realized that in every area of science, the more they study it, the more they run into rules and laws, which look a lot like programming. Like somebody's
Somebody set
decided
these things into place,
how this
and
is going to work.
boundaries
Yeah,
and-
right.
Yeah.
And so you run into these boundaries that reminds them of boundaries to computer programs
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
someone's in control of setting
Yeah.
all this up.
And so,
But it can't be anything other than a computer program.
right. And so Tyson is quoted as saying that he would put the odds at least 50-50. That the reality that we think we're experiencing is really a simulation. 50-50. And for me, that's huge. That's the presuppositionalist argument right there. And Neil deGrasse Tyson has granted it. And that is, for the thinking atheist, there is no way to know what's real and what isn't. And you run into these like village idiot atheists online,
Yeah.
teenagers in their basement or whatever, trying to destroy Christianity, and they'll often have a definition of truth that is something like, well, truth is that which corresponds to reality, which is really just a way of saying truth is truth. But
Yeah.
but now Tyson has totally,
What's the truth
he's
as
given
I
away
see
the
it?
house. He's given away the house.
Yeah.
If it's only 50-50 that reality even is real, then what can truth be?
Yeah.
And so here's my issue then. That really is, that conundrum lies at the core of all secular humanism, all atheism. The inability to even say what's real is right there. It's at the founding. You can't get past it. They do, but just by ignoring it and acting like it's not there. And so, given that, now you have Kirk and Picard, these these epitome secularists. Now the reason they don't want to stay in the Nexus is because they don't think it's real. And so they want to go back to air quotes here, they want to go back to a reality that they have no reason to believe is real. And what they're experiencing in the Nexus is just as genuine and just as centered on them as the reality that they think they left.
Yeah.
So they're upset because the Nexus is simulating reality. But Neil deGrasse Tyson would tell them that reality you left is more than likely
The same.
simulated anyway.
Yeah.
And
Well, and just for, I think Picard's big thing was, you know, lives are at stake, but lives don't really matter.
exactly. Why would that be a thing?
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
so I guess that's unfortunate, but.
Well,
So,
is
yeah.
it even? I mean, that's the way the whole universe works, that
Yeah.
things live and die. And,
So.
yeah. Given atheism and evolution, there's no reason to be all that upset.
Be choked up about it.
Stars explode. That's what they do.
Yeah.
know. And so for me, that was a huge worldview gaping hole.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, and it was different too because Kirk was living in his past, whereas Picard's
was in
ideal.
an alternate past. Or,
Well, I don't know what that was because he never experienced any of those things.
That's
but
right.
where Kirk was, oh, this is the woman that I should have stayed with and I should have
Yeah.
married, and so you don't ever see that on Picard's.
no. So anyway, I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And all because of the Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
He gave away the dang house. There should be no more argument, And so anyway, I couldn't get past that as I was watching it. And you did note at the end then as Kirk, as Picard, and the bearded guy, Riker,
Yeah.
as they're fumbling around in the ruins of the Enterprise and talking about what has happened, and they're kind of philosophizing about life itself and time and death and did you notice it was a lot of mumbo jumbo for the sake of trying to justify feeling like their lives have meaning without being able to, without needing to, without wanting to believe that there is a purpose or a being who actually gives their life meaning. And that reminded me of like an atheist funeral a little bit, where the person who died is an atheist and all the family is atheist. What are they then gonna?
Yeah. What's there to?
Yeah, what are they gonna comfort themselves with? Or
Yeah.
and that seemed a lot like their conversation,
Well, and I think earlier in the movie there's a big interchange between Soren and Picard, and he's
Yeah.
talking about how time hunts you down,
Stalks us all.
and it takes everything away from you, and
Right.
and then of course Picard is, well, I like to think it as of a friend that is traveling with me, and
Right.
it doesn't matter how you think of it, the result is the same.
Right.
So,
Death is coming for you, for
Yeah.
real. Yeah.
So if you're feeling hunted or you feel like it's your buddy, and like you were saying, their worldview, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It doesn't really matter.
And right. Death is as meaningless as life, and they're both to no purpose.
But you still see, Picard struggling with death and what does this mean and the loss in that, and he's obviously broken about it, but he wants to say it's okay, it's fine, because this is what happens and this is the way it is. And it just reminds me of, don't grieve like the world, who
Have no hope.
yeah, they don't have any hope. So how do you grieve that type of loss when you don't have anything? It's just,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Well, you saw what he was really grieving in terms of his nephew who burned in the fire. What he was grieving was the loss of potential.
Yeah.
he imagined that,
His
this
life
boy
would have
would have
been
grown
this
up and gone
yeah.
to Starfleet Academy and had all these rich experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
now he'll never have those.
He'll never fall in love, and,
Right.
And that seems sad because, that his nephew was a real person.
Yeah.
And it's not that, well, now he'll never be anything else, but it's not grieving the person that actually was there.
Yeah, that's right. He was grieving a potential, what that person might have turned into.
Yeah.
Yeah, with no chance of ever, there's not going to be any reuniting.
Yeah. Well, there's no resolve to that.
Right, unless it's in the Nexus. Maybe he did see him again in the Nexus, right?
Yeah, but then he left.
But then he decided...
And and he didn't care about his brother. It was all about that. Which I noticed. I was like, well...
Robert did not make it into the
Robert
Nexus.
He was... well, who knows what he was. Picard was okay with wherever that was.
As long as it's not here.
And then, of course, you have the issue with Data and the emotion chip, and
Right.
He's always struggling to be more human,
Right.
because they've got it all sewn up.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. One of the things that I noticed was the movie makes the assumption that humor is an emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was fascinating. I'm not sure I agree with it. And I guess I really don't think that I do. I think that humor is generally a facet of the intellect, and being able to know this is what's normal, and if I tweak that just a little bit, that's going to be funny. I don't see it doesn't make sense to me that Data couldn't intellectually understand the punchline of a joke. But as soon as he gets the emotion chip, suddenly he does understand why it's funny. And so that, to me, was a fascinating concept. I guess my initial...
Well, I think there's a difference with clever and funny. And those two, I think you can be clever without being ha-ha,
Yeah.
And so I think that's more of an intellectual type thing. And that cleverness can then, of course, be expanded into deceitfulness, and I think there's, and why are you deceitful? You want to hide something from somebody, and I just think if you look at your computer, is your computer going to hide something from you? And that's really how they view Data, as just a really awesome computer that functions and talks and does all this stuff, but doesn't have that spark of life in him. So
yeah. And I think I also disagree with the notion that fear is totally an emotional response. I think fear is a rational response. Now our emotion may take it and run with it, but it's rational to fear the things that you should fear. Fear of God is eminently rational, and fear of man is something that the Bible tells us we're supposed to overcome by deciding not to fear man. And so, although emotion is involved in fear, I think emotion is really a purposeful. I think fear is kind of a purposeful thing that we choose, generally speaking. And you can get in situations where you have to just choose, even though I'm scared, I'm gonna do this, so I'm gonna follow through.
But I still think those are things that you help develop.
Yeah.
In your kids, because
Sure.
one of ours was like afraid somebody's going to break through the wall, and
Right.
Is that rational? No, but was that a fear, and did we all pay the price for that? Yes. There are some things that I think it is kind of emotional, and it's not necessarily a rational could this really happen? No, that couldn't really happen, but I'm terrified it's going to happen. And so, well, why are you terrified? You just said this isn't, it's not really possible, because it might, and so I think some of that is just...
Well, there is irrational fear, that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think...
She also thinks she has every disease that's ever
I think that's gotten
mentioned.
better. Well,
Right.
I wonder where she gets that from.
Right. I really have all the symptoms, though.
You do. All of them.
I have like every symptom that's ever advertised.
As the bad side effect.
Right. Might as well take the medicine. I'm already doing all that other. Oh boy. All right. Did you have any kind of other thematic things?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's fine for us to wrap it up. Those are kind of big deals. I think obviously the purpose of the show was to pass the torch.
Yeah.
And I felt like the writing suffered for that. Mm-hmm. That a lot of the time the plot was kind of not based on what's going to make for an exciting story, but it was about how do we tell this story about...
How do we get these two together?
Right,
yeah. Yeah, it's probably not my favorite Next Generation movie.
I didn't think it was good. And here's the other thing that I wanted to say. I think Patrick Stewart is a really good actor. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of times he can convey stuff just with the tone of voice. And I think he's great as Captain Picard. Mm-hmm. I think he's so much better than William Shatner is. And I think there were moments, especially when they first meet, when the two captains meet, I think that Captain Picard was supposed to play this guy who's kind of starstruck. He's in awe meeting this guy that he studied about and did such great things. Yeah. So he has a little bit of that going on, and it just looked totally out of place with Captain Picard. And I mean, I think they wrote it that way on purpose. They want to put Captain Kirk over, and have him be the icon and all that. But
the legend, the living legend,
and I just
under a pile of rocks.
I didn't think it worked. Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's what happens to you.
Right.
Loosely piled rocks.
You just go under the rocks.
I can believe that. And there's a shuttle just coming right up. What?
Right. Wait 20 minutes and then just put him in stasis and have him on board. Yeah.
He's already a goner, but come on.
Well, I mean, to stop the decay, they could... Yeah.
But that was just ridiculous.
Too crazy.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious?
Right.
Sure. And then, I don't know, at the very end, when they're going through all the rubble and stuff, Riker picks up some little stone statue or something, and he's like, is this what you were wanting? And he's like, oh, no, not that. Here it is. This is what I want. And, in another episode, that thing that Riker's holding up is absolutely priceless. There's, nothing like it in the world. No. That's crap. I want this little photo book. This is what means everything to me. So, I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
Well, maybe they're just taking that out now.
And then
because the Federation's there, they're going to salvage what can be salvaged.
Maybe so. I'm hoping. Except for Captain Kirk. Who's on a completely another planet. So, and then of course at the end you see Data finding Spot, and it's a touching moment because he's crying and he says, I don't know why I'm crying because I'm really happy. There must be something wrong with me.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that will, the emotion chip and the struggles to deal with that will play a role in the next Star Trek movie that we're going to do.
Will it?
Star Trek 8.
And poor Geordi, he was used against his own sensibilities. And
oh, yeah.
So.
Star Trek 8 coming on next. That's First Contact. Spoiler alert, my favorite Next Generation Star Trek movie.
Is that really the next one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
All right. Thank you all for sticking with us. It's been a long podcast. It's great to have you all
But there's
listen.
been a lot of laughs. A couple tears.
Lots of fun, lots of laughs, lots of pain.
You're going to suffer. But you'll be happy about it. Hey, Jordan.
Shout out to Jordan. All right. Speaking of suffering. All right. We'll see y'all next time. God bless y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Worldview Media Podcast. Please visit ReconstructionistRadio.com to check out the other podcasts in our network and to download our free audiobooks.